Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to RPtv. Today is Friday, May 13th, 2022. Did you hear that, everyone? Today is Friday the 13th. So whatever you're fearful or not, we would like to highlight some of the many origins to this day. Julian has that report.
If you're feeling a little uncomfortable because today is Friday the 13th, you are not alone. For hundreds of years, people throughout the world have dreaded this day. The historical origins of Friday the 13th are deeply rooted in Christian traditions. For example, the seating arrangement at the Last Supper is believed to have given rise to the long-standing superstition that 13 guests were at the table was a bad omen, specifically that it was courting death. And when it comes to the day, Friday, it too is connected to Christianity, such as Jesus was crucified on Friday. Friday was also said to be the day Eve gave Adam the faithful apple, as well as the day Cain killed his brother Abel. So it is really worth all the trouble worrying about what bad things could happen. Perhaps we should look to history for an answer. In more recent times, a number of traumatic events have occurred on Friday the 13th, including the German bombing of Buckingham Palace in 1940, a cyclone that killed more than 300,000 people in Bangladesh in 1970, the disappearance of Chilean Air Force plane in the Andes in 1972, the death of rapper Tupac Shakur in 1996, and the crash of Costa Concordia cruise ship off the coast of Italy, which killed 30 people in 2012. Nevertheless, over the course of the time, Friday the 13th has become a part of popular culture. Most notably, the horror movie Friday the 13th, released in 1980. Here we were introduced to the hockey mask-wearing killer named Jason. The movie spawned multiple sequels, as well as a comic book, video games, related merchandise, and countless terrifying Halloween costumes.
When something happens in Florida, it is usually something strange and weird. But earlier this week, a thrilling story of fearlessness and heroism took center stage. Kelly has the details.
In West Palm Beach, Florida, a passenger with no flying experience radioed an urgent plea for help when the pilot of a small plane suddenly fell ill off of Florida's Atlantic coast and was able to land the plane safely with the help of air traffic controllers. An air traffic controller in Fort Pierce responded, asking if he knew the position of the single-engine Cessna 208 which the passenger was flying. According to FlightAware, the plane had taken off earlier Tuesday from Marsh Harbor International Airport in the Bahamas. The aircraft was occupied by the pilot and two passengers, according to a Federal Aviation Administration news release. Officials haven't identified any of them. As the plane flew over Florida, controller Christopher Flores, speaking very calmly, told the passenger to maintain wings level and try to follow the coast, either north or southbound. Twin controls enable a Cessna 208 to be steered from the passenger seat. Minutes passed before controllers were able to locate the plane, which by then was heading north over Boca Raton. Then the man's voice seemed to fade, so the controller in Fort Pierce asked for the passenger's cell phone number to enable controllers at Palm Beach International Airport to communicate with him more clearly. Air traffic controller Robert Morgan, a 20-year veteran, took over at that point, talking to the passenger down to a safe landing. Morgan is a certified flight instructor with experience piloting Cessna aircraft, the FAA said. Rescue workers assisted the original pilot, officials said. Neither passenger had any injuries. Officials did not immediately say what caused the pilot to fall ill. Morgan said in a video released by the FAA that he was just doing his job, but at a higher level than he thought he would have to do.
Now it's time for announcements. Joe's Rotisseria is hiring dishwashers and someone to answer the phone and take orders. Please call Joan at 917-669-7636 for more info or in person to fill out an application at 547 Westfield Avenue, Roselle Park. Attention students! CNN is looking for original artwork featuring the number 10 to use in their new show opening. They are particularly interested in creative tens that illustrate something cool about the place where you live. If you'd like to contribute, just contact Mrs. Scutro in room 102 for more information and details. Applications are available in the main office for the Union County Sheriff's Office Youth Police Academy. Don't miss out on this great opportunity. Seniors, graduation will be here before you know it. Make sure you complete the project graduation survey and order the PTSA lawn sign. There is a meeting of the Art Club and National Art Honor Society in room 102 after school today. National Art Honor Society candidates must see Mrs. Scutro today at some time if you can't make the meeting.
Respect. It's a way of treating or thinking about something or someone. When you give respect, you get respect back. It's basically a two-way street. It's showing good manners, saying thank you, please, respecting other teams, sports, teachers, your school, parents, peers, anyone really, or anything. Respect means many things. Here's how you can show respect. Recognize that everyone is different. No, empathy is to listen and connect. Self-monitor and think first. Pay attention. Learn something new. Earn trust through actions. Care and cheer for one another. And lastly, treat everyone as an equal. You want to treat others the way you want to be treated, with respect. You don't want anyone to treat you poorly, or not listen to you, not care for you. And neither does anyone want that same action towards you, or that same emotion. So remember, wherever you are, show respect. It's one of our character counts.
Recently, in Germany, a group of high school biology students, along with school officials, participated along with a usual burial ceremony. Let's go back to Julian for that story.
Students at a high school in West Germany buried a longtime member of their community on Wednesday, a classroom skeleton that had served as an educational specimen for a generation of pupils. Around 80 students, teachers, and town officials took part in the ceremony at Schilden's Protestant Cemetery, where the bones of an unknown woman were buried in a small coffin featuring symbols of all major world religions. "We are indeed laying to rest a member of the school community to their grave," a student said. The skeleton in question had been in the school's biology department since 1952. Students had for years pushed for the woman's remains to be buried, but plans to do so were delayed by the pandemic. The school hopes eventually to learn more about the origins of the skeleton once the results of the DNA samples taken from the bones are returned. Biology lessons are now conducted using a plastic model.
Stay tuned, we will be right back.
Knowing tips about fire safety can not only prevent a fire from occurring, but it can also save lives. Here are some tips for fire safety. Make sure you have fire alarms set up in your house, inside of bedrooms and sleeping areas. Test the alarms monthly. Talk with your family about a fire escape plan and practice this plan twice a year. If a fire were to occur at home, get out of the place as soon as possible and call 911 immediately.
Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. And stay tuned for CNN 10. We won't be back next week.
for taking 10 minutes for our show this Friday. I'm Carl Azus, and it's always good to have you watching. Some gloomy statistics related to drug overdoses headline today's program. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control says in 2021, almost 108,000 Americans died of overdoses. That's the most the nation has ever seen in a year, and we've reported info like this several times recently because new records keep being set. The number of deaths increased for several different types of drugs, from opioids like fentanyl to stimulants like methamphetamine and cocaine. But 2/3 of the fatal overdoses were from the synthetic painkiller fentanyl or drugs like it. Critics of the Biden administration say the government needs to take more action, spend more money, and set aside more resources to deal with America's drug abuse. But the Trump administration and the Obama administration were also urged to do the same thing. And despite years and billions of dollars committed by the federal government to fight against illegal drug use, the problem has only gotten worse. Okay, are there any silver linings to the CDC's report? Overdose deaths from natural drugs or semi-synthetic drugs, like prescription medications, decreased a little last year from their previous levels. And while 14,000 more deaths were recorded in 2021 than there were in 2020, it wasn't as big of an increase percentage-wise as the one recorded between 2019 and 2020. Government health officials have blamed the COVID pandemic for playing a role in drug overdoses. Experts say it'll take time, effort, and social changes to make a meaningful dent in America's drug problem. Next story. Over the 2.5 months we've reported on the war in Ukraine, officials estimate there have been tens of thousands of troops killed or wounded and roughly 8,000 or more civilians killed or wounded. We've showed you pictures of extensive destruction throughout the Eastern European country. What can be done to preserve the 1,000-year-old religious and cultural heritage of this land?
Over the first 38 days of Russia's war on Ukraine, nearly 200 cultural sites have been potentially damaged. Memorials and places of worship have been impacted the most. To try and preserve Ukraine's heritage and cultural sites, an app has been developed. It lets people save landmarks, at least digitally, in a place safe from missile attacks.
Backup Ukraine is an app which has been developed quite quickly. Just as the war in Ukraine started. You can actually take your mobile phone, it just has to be a newer model, and with the app you can just take photos. You have to take a series of photos. For instance, if it's a statue or a fountain or something like that, you'll need to take photos all around to get all the details. You can also film it as a movie, and then the software of the app will generate a 3-dimensional model of what you are documenting, what you're filming and photographing. And in that way, we have a very detailed 3-dimensional model of this statue or fountain or building. And you can actually use that then, if they are being damaged or destroyed, to rebuild or to repair from this documentation. It's very democratic. It actually gives the resource, the tools to the whole population of Ukraine. People can decide for themselves what they think is heritage to them.
During this war, we've seen how fast things could be destroyed. And this is just one of my favorite places in Kiev to be, and this stone has been here since the 1500 years anniversary of Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. And I just love this place. That's why I decided to scan it to preserve it for the eternity.
If the common heritage is disappearing, then you have less of a basis to develop your community on. And they're actually attacking and damaging the memory of the country and also the identity of Ukraine. Set aside the people, which of course are the most important to protect and to help. Then the culture and the heritage is what defines Ukraine.
10-second trivia. Chaturanga is believed to be an early version of chess originating in what place? Persia, China, India, or Egypt? The game, thought to be a precursor to chess, likely dates back to 6th century India. A historic chess match concluded this week in 1997. It pitted Grandmaster Garry Kasparov, who'd been world champion since 1985, against Deep Blue, a computer built by IBM to show off artificial intelligence. The 1997 event was a rematch. Kasparov had played and defeated Deep Blue a year earlier. The computer had won a game but lost the overall match. But then, programmers upgraded Deep Blue, and when the two opponents faced off for the second time, the machine ultimately won. For Throwback Friday, we're bringing you an original CNN report from 1997 when one of the games in that match ended in a draw.
And now he has accepted the draw. And a magnificent display by Deep Blue. He can't believe it.
Stay tuned for CNN.com.
IBM's chess-playing supercomputer Deep Blue outmaneuvered the world's highest-ranked human player, Garry Kasparov, into accepting a third consecutive draw. The outcome stunned the experts.
And this computer has widened the dimension of what's going on in these games. It's increased the possibilities. This is going to change the game. They're going to show new ways of playing these complex endgames.
Spectators greeted the 34-year-old Russian with a lengthy standing ovation.
There are many discoveries in this match, and one of them that sometimes computer plays very human moves. We have to praise machine for understanding very deeply positional factors. I think it's outstanding scientific achievement.
The draw came after 49 moves and just over 4 hours of often intense play that kept many spectators on the edges of their seats.
For some, watching chess might be tantamount to watching paint dry or golf on television. However, it's actually been very entertaining, and when crucial moves are made, the mood is highly dramatic.
And look at Gary, that jacket opened up a little bit there. Wait, we're watching now, because when Gary takes it off, then he's in trouble.
While the computer played some baffling, unconventional moves at the start of the game, it was the computer's end game that astonished even those who have helped to program it.
I think that Deep Blue played a very good game. It played very aggressively and without the usual fear that a human player has for playing Garry Kasparov.
Tomorrow I will have to face another difficult challenge. Probably the only good thing is not to resign in advance.
The sixth and final game of the match is scheduled for Sunday afternoon. Cynthia Tornquist, CNN New York.
Walter Orthman is 100 years old. He's been working at the same place since he was 15. It's a textile business in Brazil, and because of that, Orthman holds the Guinness World Record for the longest time spent working for the same company. He says his position in sales has been a great job he wouldn't have found anywhere else, and that's why he never considered leaving it. He likes the commitment, he says he's happy and lives well, and Orthman, who recently broke his own record for company longevity, has no plans to retire. So there's no doubt he's a company man. He's in good company. He's in the company of record holders. He's judged by the company he keeps. He's a businessman who's all business, minding his business in the business of making business history. We say, give that centenarian salesman a raise, buy a C note. I'm Carl Azus, and Fridays are awesome. Mobridge Pollock Middle School gets today's shout out. It is in Mobridge, South Dakota. The one way to request a mention is to leave a comment on each day's show at youtube.com/CNN